Welcome back to the Daily Dave. We're here. And I wanted to jump on and respond to a question from Jen Mack. Hi, Jen Mack. I hope you're doing well, Jen Mack. Thank you for checking out the podcast. Thank you for leaving a message. That's incredible. I just want to say, hi, Jen. Thank you for listening. It's so great when any type of message comes in. It just came in a couple days ago. I wanted to get in here and record this, get it out to you, Jen. Jen's question was, what are your thoughts on niching your listener, and what ways to niche them? Meaning the person they are or the problem they have. Excellent question, Jen Mack. Thank you. So great to have you a part of the How to Podcast family. Thank you. My thoughts on niching your listener. I think it's great if you can focus in to a level where your content makes sense to the target audience for your show. If we talk in vague, large, grandiose topics with very little depth, we're not going to be able to connect the same way that we can when we go a little deeper and a little more focused. So use your podcast in a way that is hyper-focused on who you want to reach. And I think niching down is a great idea for all of our listening audience. To that end, we go back to episode 1 of the How to Podcast series, where we talked about our why. We really need to have a clear picture of why we're doing this and who we're doing this for, the big idea behind our podcast. So that's my challenge for you, is to go back to episode 1 if you haven't heard it. Listen to that again, because it's going to help you set the basics for your podcast journey. But Jen, the ways that we can niche them, I think we can do that through surveys. We can do that through community. We can do that through finding Facebook groups in our area of expertise that our podcast will be built around. Join in the conversation. If you are doing a potential new podcast around a topic that has conventions and meetups and books and TV shows about, or any type of content around what you're already thinking about doing, then get into the world there. Get in and meet people face to face and ask the questions and listen for the answers and find your community. That's a great starting point as far as how to find and narrow in on your niche. And by doing that, you're going to learn so much about your topic, which you can bring to the microphone and share with your audience. And as far as our niche, are we looking at the person they are or the problem that they have? I would say it's a combination of both. Meaning that we really need to know who these people are. What are they? Why are they coming to your podcast? Why are they searching? What are they searching? Super great way to find and narrow our niche is just go to Google, type in the topic of what you're thinking of doing a podcast on or an episode on, but type it in the form of a question and let Google autofill the results. So how do I podcast ... and see what Google says. I'm going to do it right now while we're doing this. Here we go. I have to jump over to Google. I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to go how to podcast. And, there we go. How to podcast for free. How to podcast with someone in a different location. How to podcast from phone to TV. How to podcast on Spotify. How to podcast on YouTube. So look at what Google feeds you. These are popular search results. And the beauty of having these search results as the title of your episode is that when somebody types this in, there's the potential that someone's going to land on your podcast because you're embracing the search terms your target audience is typing into a search engine. So you might as well meet your audience where they are on any search engine, on YouTube, wherever they're searching for the answer to a question that your podcast can answer. As a podcast in general or in a certain episode, use the autofill feature in Google. That drop-down list gives you some great insight on what you should be talking about in your show and how you can focus in on your niche. That's a great way to do that. The other part, should we focus on the problem that they have? Yeah, it's still part of that as well. Focus on the person and focus on why they're here and why they need your show. I think it's super important. Jen, I think as you work on your podcast and as you develop the ideas around your show, I think you're going to see as you start the ball rolling and you put episodes out and get feedback, like when Jen Mack leaves me a message on the podcast, this is where you get interaction with your audience, and this is where you can develop and hone in and be even more specific on who you're talking to. And then by doing that, you get to know your audience and you get to grow your community by answering questions one at a time. And that's what the How to Podcast series is all about. And Jen Mack, that's why I'm here for you. I want to answer these questions and I want to be part of the solution. You proved it to me, Jen Mack, by submitting this question that niche are important. You'll notice that the How to Podcast series is not primarily focused on making money with your podcast. It's not primarily focused on what type of microphone you use. That's boring, by the way. I'm really bored with those. It's not about those things. This is about how to podcast, how to start your show, and how to go from zero to hero. That's what it's all about. And Jen Mack, I thank you again for your questions. Jen, make sure you leave me a message with your podcast so that I can promote it here on the show as well and tell everybody to come and hear your show when it's ready. Would love to do that as well. Do you have any questions for me and the How to Podcast community? You can always respond to us through our website, howtopodcast.ca. There's a microphone. I'd love to hear your amazing podcaster voice filling up my inbox with questions, comments, and thoughts from your perspective. And you can help me answer this question. What do you think about niching your listener? What do you think about the idea of, are we niching a person or are we niching to a problem that they have? Help me answer Jen's question through the website, howtopodcast.ca, and hit that little speak pipe icon and leave me a 90-second answer to that and tell me about your show as well, please. And remember, we're having right now the question out there for you to answer is, if you had one call to action, one thing at the end of your episode that you could say, and only one, what would it be and why? And also, while you're there, tell us about your show over at howtopodcast.ca. Hit the speak pipe, leave us a message, leave us an answer to that question. Tell us about your show. Tell us where we can find you, your website, and what is your one call to action and why? If you only had one, what would it be and why at howtopodcast.ca. Jen Mack, thank you for leaving a message. Get out there and niche down your audience, everybody. Get down to the point where you know who you're talking to and why. And if you need help, reach out. Thanks for being here on the How to Podcast series, the Daily Dave, answering questions from people who want to know. Thanks, Jen Mack.